Hey everybody, Keisha here, and today I am here with my friend
Jennifer Guskin,
and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city, house, or state without permission, or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Karis Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you everybody for your time and considerations, and thank you for all the support, and we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Karis Project podcast. Today we have with us, obviously, Stephen, Andrew, and Mike. He's from Proverbs Guys Ministries, and my daughter, the host, Aisha. We're going to be talking about some of the issues that we're seeing here with this red pill, some of the stuff that we're seeing with some of the more degrading behavior with the younger generation, where the red pill has this ideology of degenerate. Like, I mean, they're denigrating women. They go after the women that are, I guess they call them 304s, the women that are on OnlyFans and all these different things, and extol certain ideals over others, and some of them are very unrealistic. Keisha, you have anything you want to say before we start getting into this about the whole red pill stuff?
Yeah, red pill is getting pretty annoying at this point because it's doing anything to actually help the problem. It's actually feeding the problem. And a lot of men, it distorts their view of men. Like, seeing men today say that women are attracted. Think about this for a second. Intimately attracted and it's by a man's money, his physical body. And a bunch of women, I was like, do men not understand? Wow, the balloons. I was like, do men not understand that women are captivated mentally? You know, it talks about this, that women need love, esteem, to be cherished, and men need. So it's like they are becoming diluted, and it feeds the problem because when men have that idea of, oh, a woman only likes my physical body and my money, he doesn't actually have to do anything to be with her. He doesn't have to go outside of himself to become better to suit him too. So it's like, this is a really demonic thing. Sorry, I think I'm lagging.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. We'll get to the clip here. We'll pull up the clip with the guy here. That's the red pill guy. We'll start with that one first.
I'm lucky enough to get fan letters, and one fan letter in particular really struck me. So let me read you a little excerpt. Hey coach, my name is Thomas. And then he goes on to describe a little bit about himself before he says the key line. For some reason, I have had poor experiences with the women that I've been interested in. They have either been damaged or attention whores. They are hot and fun, but no good. And you have to look at the core of a woman because it could cost you financially, emotionally, etc. I don't seem to do so well in the asshole and manipulative department because I'm not a mean-spirited or evil-natured person. I try my absolute best to be good and honest. I don't do well with engaging a woman's emotions because I feel like it is natural for my behavior to always be good, reliable, caring, a high quality of treatment, and consistent. Oh man, I mean, Thomas, you can tell Thomas is salt of the earth. You can tell just by the message. I mean, I'm just excerpting just a couple of lines from the thing, right? But just from the message, you can tell that he's salt of the earth. Hardworking fella, just decent as the day is long. You know what I mean? And of course, he's going to get f***ed over by whores and damaged women. Of course. Whores and damaged women are going to light on a nice guy like flies on shit. Yeah, of course. Of course. Why wouldn't they? See? Because, see, he will put up with all the craziness and insanity and narcissism and attention whoring of these women. Yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll take advantage of him. And it's a sad state of affairs, but it's the way of human beings, yeah?
Sorry, I thought I edited all of that, but I guess not. But he's clearly very angry.
Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Stephen, you had any thoughts on what this guy had to say?
Yeah, so to me, it's an overreaction. of what we saw the enemy do on the women's side, which was the whole feminism movement. It was a way to kind of rip women away from the nuclear family unit. And in the process of trying to build themselves up, they got in the habit of tearing men down. And then you see the extreme demonic overreaction from the alpha male community, where they want to now build themselves back up. And in the process of doing that, they think they have to tear the women down. We have forgot that both can climb out of a pit together.
Yeah, so they're creating
Yeah.
this war, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna play something here. Let me get this here. I'm gonna pull up another clip from this girl here that
But you know what? Even when, like, just briefly before you pull up that clip, I saw a picture today online of a girl. She was in a bikini, and next to this sign that said vitamin C, and it was, SEA, or whatever. But the bikini, obviously, back is turned to the camera because she's showing all her and everything. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, women typically do stuff like that when they're trying to get the attention of a certain man. Like they'll post pictures of themselves, or they do something to get the attention of a certain man and reel him in that way. But it's less of a risk to post it for everybody, because then if everybody sees it, in the mind of a woman, a lot of times, if everyone sees it and she gets the validation from everyone, then it's like she doesn't have to risk getting the rejection from the person she's actually trying to get the attention from. And I think because men today and I'm not blaming men for the poor choices of women. I'm just saying, because everyone has to be accountable for themselves. I'm just saying that I think because of the way that society has made it very easy for these things to be done. Now, like on top of the war that you were talking of, Stephen, that they are trying to start between men and women, not realizing they can pull themselves out of the pit together, as opposed to like kicking each other down. It's easier for women to make these decisions going into whoredom, because on, like, whether it's online or whatever else, just getting the attention, that is so much easier than taking the risk of trying to get the affection men around her. Red pill has created a lot of environment of men who are quite disrespectful to women and don't speak with them or court them or dance them the way that's did. And so they would rather take their chances on everybody as opposed to the one, if that makes sense. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. These red pill guys, and I've never seen this dude show, but he is obviously someone who has been very wounded, and he is portraying an alpha male because he doesn't want to reveal to the world that he's squishy inside. But he's obviously hurt.
Yes, this is one of the things that's going on. Is yes, the dude is hurt. I want to pull up a clip now. This is Lily Phillips, and she is a Gen Z, 23, and this is something that want to kind of look at what she says about marriage.
And what about love?
What, as in,
real love?
I would love to get married one day.
Right. And what does that, and in that documentary, again, I felt like there's so many things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You said, like, it does worry me, like my parents, are worried about like the type of boyfriend I might have. And then you joked and said, oh, but he might have to be happy with hiring me out.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's so, for me, it felt really exploited and abusive. And I think you don't need to share with anyone else. He doesn't need to hire you out. Like, we deserve to be, sacred in a relationship. And is that something that you think you could commit to later down the line, of actually being with one guy and remaining faithful to them? Because being married, because you just said about being married, is about being committed to each other, not committed to everyone else. Like, is that something that you think you would be prepared to do?
I mean, when I said about the hiring out, I more meant like I would love if a husband was happy to let me sleep with other guys. That would be a dream for me.
Wouldn't you think he was a knob though?
No.
Surely. You men want to hunt and gather, right? We predominantly were born to go and hunt and gather. Men want to protect. They don't like sharing. So for any man to feel that his wife is everybody else's, he's not a real man. Surely that would be an ick for you.
No, I find that kind of like closed-minded because I know so many people in the porn industry who have a very, very normal relationship, but they both do porn and they're both sleeping with other people and they're both very happy and content in that. And I think that's what people don't get is like there are people out there that are very happy with that kind of lifestyle.
But yeah, but you said I think that's normal, but I don't know if that is normal. I think it might just exist. But predominantly
in my world, it's normal.
Yeah. But predominantly when people make a commitment to be with each other, it's to be with each other, not to be with everyone else.
In like a very society standard relationship, yes.
Do you understand the term sexual energy exchange?
Yes.
So does that worry you then? So like sexual energy exchange is saying that it's not just a physical act. You are taking on during the sexual exchange their emotions, their energy, their spirituality, that actually it's so much more than just the bodies. And that, we're all energy at once. Does that not worry you that you've given so many men the chance to enter something that should be sacred to you?
I personally don't find sex sacred, and I don't believe that like you take on all their emotions and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a very happy person. I've been with a lot of people and I'm still happy. So, but I believe in that with sex comes energy, of course, that like you feel energy of your partner, but I don't necessarily believe you take on all their burdens and things like that.
No, but it's an emotional exchange. It's not, that's what they're saying. It's not just physical. There comes so much with it.
Mm.
Sorry. When you're listening to what she's saying there about marriage, right? And this is one extreme on how she's talking about it. And then you look at what that guy is doing on the other extreme. You can see how this becomes problematic, right?
Honestly, she takes someone who's a victim of sexual abuse. Like, and maybe that's because of what she's done with the industry, but usually the words that sex is not sacred comes from people who've been severely traumatized and abused. The sacredness was from them, so now there is none. And the only way that they'll see sacredness in it, and especially for women, if there is an emotional mental connection and they think that, which is why a lot of women actually try to separate these things, because they'll say like, oh, well, because there was no emotional or mental connection, because that's where women find true love and bonding. And if that doesn't exist, then they just pretend it didn't happen. But that's not at all the case. So I think women getting into this is particularly dangerous because she's going based on how she feels as opposed to the overall reality of what is going on. Whereas we previously spoke to other women who were in it that were and men that were in the industry able to, okay, well, these things have this effect or whatever, but they still, even though they were in the industry, had that same frame of mind, like, that's your shame, it's not mine, I don't care. And I think that's something very particular to women, because unless there is a mental and emotional strong connection, it's like it doesn't matter to them. And I think men need to come to that reality. Like, that's why it's dangerous.
Well, keep in mind that this was a woman who was watching pornography from the age of 11 years old.
Yeah, but we've seen other ex-porn previews that were not Gen Z say that they also didn't care about the fact that they were doing it, and it didn't bother them until they saw something that they didn't like about it. So it's like the way that internalizing it, it's like that's the female perspective at that point.
Yes, but she is coming down further than other people. right? Like she's going further.
Yeah,
Gonna
the way
pull up.
she's saying things is kind of strange, saying that her husband would have to be okay with, um, you know, putting her off pretty much on all these other men is crazy.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's completely an anticipated outcome, though, right? Because when you have men and women devaluing each other in social norms in their own groups back in their corners, and they're hearing the echo chamber, women are garbage, they just want your paycheck, blah, blah, blah. And men can't do anything I can't do. I can do it better, even. I don't need hubby at home. Like, when we're devaluing each other's value, we're going to come into this issue, especially when you come into sex, because sex is no longer going to be looked at something sacred anymore. It's going to be looked at something more like a transaction. It's just
Yeah,
you know,
transaction.
a release of endorphins from a slot machine. You go there to do your business and you leave.
Yes.
yes, and
Yes, you
that's
said it correctly. It's a transaction. A lot of women who are abused, especially, will look at a transaction because they're trying to make themselves feel something while running from the actual opportunity to have the genuine emotional and mental connection. They'll just get hits of crack here and there, and it doesn't help them feel anything. They just become more dead. So, yeah, I agree with you. What you said.
that's this is where we end up getting, and you're gonna listen to some of this, where they put so much focus on the virginity rather than
Yeah.
the other thing, the foundation on which it's built on. This is why people are getting lost in the weeds. They're like, "Oh, well, I had sex. It wasn't anything big," because if you just look at the act alone, it's not that it's devalued or diminished because you're not looking at that connection and that foundation that needs to be built up first. And so they're just like going with whatever. But then you're going to look at some of the things that are going to shape these types of thoughts, right? Because we're going to look at two very different like outcomes, like histories of women that got into this lifestyle. And we're going to look at one, and we're going to listen to Angela White and listen to some of her home life when she was younger and her so forth. So let's listen to this.
And I'm going to just start from the beginning. Like,
Okay.
at what point in your life did you become sexual? Did it become comfortable? Like, when was this is my life. This is my dream. This is my future.
14 is kind of like, that was when everything started happening. That's when I developed my breasts. That's when I was super sexual.
Were
That's
your
when
breasts this big off the jump?
It pretty much, not quite this big. At 14, I was a double D. So, and then they just slowly grew after that. But it felt like overnight. Like I was 13 flat chested, 14 double D tits.
I had a girl in my school she was very, very short, shorter than you. And she had such big boobs. It was like a problem.
Mhm.
Like, she had back problems.
Yeah.
Kate Upton's a good friend of mine. She had trouble breastfeeding. Like, she's like, big boobs are kind of a traumatic. Chelsea Lynn, who's on OnlyFans, Trailer Trash Tammy, when she said she couldn't play sports because they would hit her, they'd hit her in the face. I'm like, this just feels like a karmic punishment. And so what was your experience when they started coming in? Because I think very few people are like, oh, you have big boobs, I feel so bad for you. But it must be kind of confusing.
It is. I mean, they're a blessing and a curse. I mean, for me, they're mainly a blessing. But I did get back
at the time. Before you were like, these are going to make me an iconic millionaire.
So before that, I mean, at 13, all my other friends had developed. So I was flat chested. So I would cry myself to sleep because I didn't have tits. And my mom would always say, don't worry, you're going to get tits and you're going to catch up and you're going to overtake everyone, which I didn't believe her at the time.
She had big boobs?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone in my family, both my grandmothers have big tits. So it's like both sides of the family, big titties. All my cousins, my sisters, everyone has big tits. But at 13, not having, like, I had nothing. And my friends had tits, even if they were B or C cups. I'm like, I'm a horny woman that wants to express and explore myself, and I have no tits. And I felt like tits were the ticket.
What do you mean you were at 13? Were you masturbating at that time?
Yes.
That I was trying to think when you came on. I was like, when did I masturbate first? Like, do people remember Like I just wrapped my head around my losing my virginity story, like remembering, but I don't remember when I figured that out.
See, I was doing like sexual self-pleasuring things before I knew what masturbation was. Because I think about what I did with my friends when we were kids and like humping like the dolls and things like that, which is basically masturbation. But
you know, so just so you're Australia.
Yeah.
Everyone. This is where they sent the criminals. They sent the criminals to an island to go hump dolls.
I don't think that's why, but that is what ended up happening.
You just said it so casually.
Yeah.
I didn't. Do you hump dolls with your friends?
Yeah, with my friends. Yeah, we did it together. Like we would do these little ceremonies where we would get married to the soft toys and then we would hump them because we'd have to consummate the marriage. So we would be in bed together side by side humping the dolls. Yeah, and we would, make our Barbies have sex and stuff. I mean, that wasn't masturbation, but we were exploring sex and sexual ideas.
Do you remember seeing images in movies or magazines that like led to it or?
No, nothing led to it. I do remember seeing like naked people in movies was so exciting. I remember like the full frontal nudity in Life of Brian. Like that was just so exciting.
Yes. And so you can sit down and begin to understand when you see these kinds of things, what ends up shaping people's experiences, right?
Yeah, so
go ahead, Ed.
We made sex so casual and they've devalued sex so much, it's no longer an emotional exchange. And that's why a lot of times women will leave that act and, depending on their situation, they'll leave with money or food paid for or something tangible to make them feel like they got something from it. But men have the same problem. How many men try to leave those engagements with a picture, something tangible, because they no longer feel the emotional exchange. They've lost that by making it a transaction.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead, Keisha.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Like when I think of myself at like preteen age, the stuff that I've been doing is insane. For a female to act out physically that way would mean that she was extremely exposed to, because for context, women do not act out physically unless they are exceptionally overwhelmed with things circumstantially. Women tend to take things on themselves personally and not others because they tend to want to hurt themselves first, which is why they end up, self-harming, like or other things, or they will, disorders. If women get where they are now projecting that action on others around them as children, you're in problems because it's typical for men, the little boys, to get into a disagreement, punch each other in the face, and then they're friends again by lunchtime. That kind of stuff is not typical for little girls. Extremely concerning. It means in my mind I'm like, this girl was abused because it's not normal. It's not normal for little girls to act out that way, for one, and two, it's not normal for a little kid to be seeing that stuff so frequently to the point where they want to replicate, well, frequently in general or at all, and then it's replication with themselves and those around. That's mad to me. But yeah, I know what you said about the value for intimacy. Because my generation, for example, Gen Z, and I'm here, no value for it whatsoever. It doesn't really mean anything to anyone. There is no intimate level of it. And again, like you said, the women are going after the money and other stuff to feel like they've at least gotten something out of it. Say, haha, I got you. You didn't screw me over. You slighted me emotionally, but I at least took some of your money because that's where it's going to hurt you the most. So yeah.
We're just going to take a short commercial break, and I'm going to come back and bring up another clip here.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
So if you need any, want to go for the Rev 7 or any of the MyPillow products, go to mypillow.com/Karis. Call 800-845-2942. Use the promo code Karis. There's other ways you can support. You can look at the stuff down in the ticker and support a good cause. I mean, go get yourself some pillows and stuff. So we're looking at a lot of this type of, different experiences with the sexuality and so forth. I'm going to pull up this other clip that Angela continues to talk a little bit more about her dynamic of parenting at home, and it'll sort of give you a little bit more perspective on what's happening here.
Mine was household. Like I had family members that cheated and stuff, and I would go to the mistress's home and see stuff. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I remember there was the household was sexual. There were women in the house naked, coming in, coming out, and I think, and I can't really delineate whether it was like, ooh, this is sexual, I'm into sex, or it's like, ooh, this is what gets my dad's attention, so I should do that. Look like that or act, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of like at a very early age. Oops.
At an early age, I was just so fascinated with naked bodies and sex, even if it wasn't like a sexual thing.
Bodies are just so ridiculous.
And it's
How can
weird
you
that
not
we're
be?
not allowed to see them. Why can't
How
I
can
see
you
it?
let a kid love a moon bounce but not jump on titties? Same. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
soft, bouncy things. I was that weird kid at school in the back of the library reading all the sex books. Like there's a book called Where Did We Come From, which had all the cartoon illustrations of naked people and reproduction and reproductive organs. And that was fascinating to me. And I was, I knew I wasn't supposed to look at it every single day. So I'd always go to the back of the library to stare at these cartoon images. So I've always been fascinated by sex and sexuality and naked bodies.
But was there a religion in your house at all? Because I think maybe the in America, I'll speak for, there's just such a religious shame, like a fabric of shame that underpins everything that I feel like.
So I was brought up Christian, but it wasn't like a super strict religious household. My mum was really open with me about sex and masturbation.
What does she do?
She's a photographer.
Cool.
Yeah. So it makes sense that I ended
Totally.
up on the other side of the screen. But yeah, she was really open with me. Like she gave me a copy of the Height Report. Do you know this book? Sheer Height wrote this book in the 70s. And it basically surveyed women on their sexual experiences and on masturbation and how they masturbated. Because she wanted me to, she actually asked me, like, do you know how to masturbate? Are you coming?
At what age?
I can't remember what age. I want to say it was around 14. It was around that age. And so she gave me this book. And in the book, women detail the ways.
Height Report, HITE by Sherry Height.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in that book, yeah, it's a classic text. And women detail the ways that they actually masturbate. And so it was, from reading that book that I got a mirror and looked down at my vulva and figured out where's the clitoris and learned how to masturbate.
That first time you put the mirror up, it's a real.
It was good to have studied so many illustrations on what it looked, because
prepared.
I knew kind of what it was supposed to look like, so it wasn't so scary.
Dramatic.
Yeah. So I was masturbating.
Why does this look like my laundry basket? Was she very involved when you were like going through puberty and having your period and stuff?
Yeah. So when so she knew when I had a boyfriend, she knew that this was probably going to be the one that I lost my virginity to. So even before like that happened, she was like, if you want to have sex, like, let's talk. I'll give you some condoms, all that kind of stuff. And then when I lost my virginity, she gave me like a present, like a losing your virginity present. Yeah, she bought me some lingerie.
Oh,
so,
my
yeah,
goodness.
my mom was great.
Turned down for what, Mama White?
She was great.
Damn. And was she married?
Yes.
Or your father was there?
Yeah.
What's his deal?
I mean, what do you mean? What's his
like
deal?
It's like he's just what's up with him?
What's up, Dad?
I guess I'm just like, I don't know.
I mean, that explains a lot of what was going on. And what they don't understand is that you can't get a child to go and start engaging in sexual behavior and expect them to form proper boundaries all by themselves. It's unreasonable, right? And the parents, without guiding them, because sex in and of itself is not bad. It's the context in which under which it's done. And
but
then,
why is a 14? Sorry.
well, that's really it. Go ahead.
No, why do you need to give a 14-year-old, a child, a book about sex that actually goes to the extent of showing them how to participate and get themselves off like 14, and then you give them a gift to celebrate losing their virginity, like grooming, like that is crazy to me. Like that is like on one level, I just, that makes me very upset. That makes me very, very upset because I know her, but what kind of mother, like what imagine if a father did this. Father did this to his kid, he'd be in jail. So why can women do to their children? Why is this allowed? Why is that okay? And why blatantly come out and say stuff like this if it was your father? Because jail. So why are people coming out and this is how indoctrinated our society is, that women can do this to their children and get away with it? Like, why? And look at the damage, because it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, I just can't. And then she was a Christian. She said she was a Christian. And she father in the home, which is way more crazy, because what in the world was going on? Like what was going on? Like I have so many questions. Like blowing my mind, man. Well, it is, but it's not. Like
Steven, you want to weigh in on?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So, I know Americans are considered closed-minded, call us old-fashioned, but here in the US, especially down here in the South where I'm from, I'm a Southern boy, that is just a clear-cut case of child grooming. Excellent point, because if it was on the other parent, if that was a father trying to make sure his son knew how to, perform those acts on himself, he'd be in prison. But my other question is, when they were children and having sleepovers and performing these acts on dolls and, acting out these scenarios with Barbies, where were the parents? Like, did you know that your 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds were dry humping Barbies? Where were you?
Yes, and I also wonder if any of those children that were involved in that were molested.
That's what I was thinking. Somebody had to been molested. He had to been.
Right?
Because she said it was frequent. They were doing it all the time.
Yes. So, and this shows you when you're not getting boundaries. And she's like, well, what about Dad? He was fine. Well, the father wasn't giving boundaries. He's responsible, right? Because this kind of stuff happens. And I'm going to play a clip here from, we're going to get the the Gen X perspective of what her home life was, as opposed to this girl's home life, and then Lily's home life, which was no boundaries whatsoever. You can see the differences in between them.
So do you not have a relationship with your family anymore? And
I do not.
How do you manage that now? Like, are you okay with that?
I found peace with it. And I found peace with the understanding that for too many years, I carried the blame for getting into porn as the reason why my parents treated me horribly. My dad didn't speak to me from this time I was 16 years old till I was 40, and he had a stroke, and I came home. My neighbor had called me and said, your dad had a stroke, and he was fine. But I came home. We connected for a couple of years. It was very awkward. It was weird. So when I wrote about this, when I walked into my dad's house, it was like I had died. He had every photo ever taken of me, like on this one wall, like a weird shrine. And then when you go to my mom's house, she wants to act like I'm dead because she doesn't want to associate with me because I'm a porn star. So there's no photos of me in her house. Wow. So it was like this weird, and the way that alone played on my emotions was heavy. And again, you don't realize it till it's not there. But I've made peace with the fact that they can never understand me. It's a small town mindset. They're stuck on stupid with the fact that I'm a horrible person because I did porn. And anytime I wanted to address my abuse as a child, my mom would bring this up. And so what I've realized is after the first year, I felt healthier because I wasn't on a roller coaster ride. I wasn't on I'll give you an example. My grandfather died. And one of the reasons I got my apartment in New York City was because my grandfather and Peggy, who you've heard about, the most important person in my life, they were both in nursing homes, and I could take the bus from New York to Easton and be right outside either of their nursing homes and then get a ride to the other one. And for the last 3 years they were alive, I visited them a couple weekends a month. I would go either for the day or for the weekend, stay with my mom. And when my grandfather died, I had just been there like 3 days before. She lied to me by a week so that I didn't go to the funeral because they don't want to be seen accepting me because I'm in the industry at that time. And so they lied to me. And then I was appalled. And what was crazy was the last visit I had with my grandfather, who had severe dementia. When you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, know this, they don't remember today. But if you bring in things from their past, they can tell you elaborate stories. And he was a World War II photographer. And I found boxes of his photos when I was helping my mom clean out their home to sell it because they were both in the nursing home. And I started taking in his war photos. And he would give me these stories. Like he would grab a photo. He's like, oh, that was 1943. We were in Germany. You see this guy right here. You tell me these great stories. And then one day, the last time I saw him, I had a shoebox of photos. And he looked at me, he goes, keep these because I think they're going to write you out of my will. And that was like our last conversation. Wow. And then she lied to me about having a service. And then I found out through a friend from home, like, hey, why didn't you go to your grandfather's funeral? And then I called my mom and she's like, well, we really didn't want to be seen with you. We don't want to be seen that we accept you. It's okay that you're here sometimes. Like she wouldn't eat out at a restaurant with me. She wouldn't let me go into the store with her. My life with them was at her house or at my dad's house. It wasn't in a public. So that's heavy. Yeah. And so after a year of not feeling that, I felt more comfortable in my skin. I felt more confident about myself. I was around more people that had positive interactions with me than constantly reminding me of these horrible choices that I made. And that last visit home, I was kind of done. And that was why I decided to have this like come to Jesus. Like, listen, I called it Russian roulette in my book. I said, I want to sit down and have a conversation. And I called the person who abused me and had him on the phone. And I said, everybody needs to get together. I just want to sit down. I just want you to know how this affected my life. I've already forgiven you. It's already been years, but you have to have a face-to-face with me, understand what this did to me. And that was it. My whole family got together and said, we're never talking to her again. Wow. And they have not, during the pandemic, didn't reach out. Don't know if they know where I live. But I've reconnected with all of my friends from my hometown. And during the pandemic, I would rent a car and drive home and see my friends from Easton because it was supposed to be our 30-year high school reunion and we didn't get to have it. But I'm at peace with it because I feel better about myself, not trying to prove myself to a family that doesn't accept me and will never accept me. And also, I remind them of bad things. I remind them that they failed me. I remind them that I've gone out on my own and been successful without their help. I think my parents would have much rather me be a girl in the business who became addicted to drugs and was living under a bridge somewhere. They don't want me to be successful.
Yeah.
So you see the difference between the three women that we've watched here. One she was abused, right, by her family, somebody in her family. The other two were not, but they were groomed, and they were given like literally no boundaries. But the red pill guy will look at all of these three women the same, and they're not, which ends up then creating more of a problem because men are supposed to be the ones to help fix these kinds of situations. But when you just blanket treat everybody the same and not identify who is what, then what ends up happening? It creates a larger problem. You can also see the difference between the generational gap. You see that, for one, you listen to this woman talk, Lisa. Then you watched Angela White talk. She's a millennial. And then Lily Phillips, he's a Gen Z. You can see the difference between one generation to the next. And when you're looking at this, the sexualization of the children is what's getting worse.
Yeah, so what I gathered
Yeah, because
from
that's
that last
what.
clip. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. That's what I. That's what I was gonna say. Because like even with my generation, and I was trafficked in the foster care system as a kid, so like, intimacy never really meant anything for me after my life feeling numb. So I really could care less. It really didn't have any value to me. I wanted to be in a family is what had value to me because I could see the potential for like emotional and mental connection. But as the generation goes more and more, the children are being more groomed for that purpose because I guess you understand what I'm saying. Anyways, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, so what I gathered from it is, we're often products of our environment. And the girl pointed out how her parents refused to take accountability about how she was molested as a child, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But in turn, she is now, as an adult, not taking responsibility for bringing that shame upon her family now that she can control it. So she's acting the same way her parents did, but she's only looking at it from one side. But also, why wouldn't the parents, help her healing by address the matter?
What
Well, someone in her family that did it, and they don't want to accept the fact that they,
what's happening in the families is that they're shaming her for her choices of going into the adult industry, which now she's not, in order to avoid dealing with the sexual abuse that happened to her.
abuse. And that's what I said. That's what I was trying to allude to, the fact of like the fact that if I mother, I would have been in the same position as Lisa Ann, because as someone who was trafficked in the foster care system as a kid, I had no care in the world whatsoever for intimacy. Like it doesn't like I could care, like I have the same attitude about intimacy as a lot of these women because experience, but the only difference is I had a father that was like created bounds for me so I could understand when you abuse that way, understand. Like I don't know how to explain it.
But
you literally do not understand.
She does, but there is the act of that she should acknowledge that her actions do.
Yeah,
affect
yeah. Pornography, you can
her-
acknowledge that. That's not what I'm talking about.
yeah, that affects her family. But the greater issue is the abuse, because she even said that if she wasn't
That's what I'm
abused,
talking about.
she would have never gone down this direction. She acknowledges it. She understands the abuse
Yeah,
is what ended up causing the choices.
causing it.
Yes, help those choices.
Yeah.
Does that, but I mean, if she wasn't abused, like if a child was ever abused, you would not see them. Most of these people not going down there into these situations unless they were like the
Well,
other two that were literally groomed into what they were doing.
Even if they were abused, if they had parents that actually cared about them and were helping them solve the problems and creating boundaries, then they would never be in that position, because then they would be taking steps to help themselves more positively, even though that they were feeling traumatized or whatever else, like they did parents.
I just wanted to just bring up one more clip here because we're running up on time. And keep in mind what the red pill guy said at the beginning. We're going to talk about this a little more later, but I want you to listen to what happens with the type of shaming that these red pill people do.
So I'm like, yeah, what's it like to stick a finger in my butt? What's it like to, whatever it is, like there were so many things I hadn't done. So it was a really exciting time in my life. And now I still, like, when I'm having sex with someone, there's so many different ways that I can connect with someone, and it's always a new experience. So
I'm always just curious, like, because you're so like you're such a ray of light. You're such an orb of like
Thank
positivity. And I just feel like when something's going well for someone discovers something. And I think for a lot of people, the sex, like, you didn't have it tainted and shamed. It doesn't seem like before you did it. And then after you did it, it doesn't seem like there was a lot of slut shamey, whatever. So
there was. Yeah, there
because
was.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how have you not gone dark? I'm just trying to find the part in this trajectory, because like, I think most women would probably be like you, point of view wise with sex. And I wish they could be, but I think so many women either got embarrassed or ashamed, whether it's hate their bodies or got slut shamed or had bad sex or whatever it is.
Oh yeah. I got slut shamed like crazy in high school. That's what ended up leading me into porn. So basically I turned 14, I get rid of my virginity, and I'm like, oh, it's on. Now I can everyone. So I was guys, I was girls. I was slut shamed for every way that I expressed myself.
Fucking girls, was that like, I just want to learn about it, or like I'm attracted to that?
Both. I wanted to try everything. I was attracted to women, but at that time, that wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to kiss girls. So that was probably the thing that I was shamed for the most, was having a girlfriend in high school.
What?
Yeah, that was like not. And I guess at the school I was at, it was just like there was so much.
So you were dating a girl in high school, like full
dating
on.
full on. And I actually was made to apologize at school assembly for kissing my girl in the quadrangle. Like heterosexual couples could kiss all they wanted, but because I kissed my girlfriend in the quadrangle, that was considered making a scene, and we were made to apologize to the school. Like, I went through a lot of trauma in high school from my sexuality.
You were like, I, Angela White, am sorry for giving all the teachers erections on the quad earlier.
Yes.
That was my bad.
That, I'll tell you right now, her father, 100% responsible for that, because he didn't prepare for the consequences of her actions. Because should have people come and single her out in front of the school and stuff like that, probably not a good idea. But the father has to tell you that this isn't an ideal world, and this is the world that you live in, and you need to act accordingly. And this is the thing, is that there are consequences for actions. And this is what the father is supposed to prepare his daughter, because she walked into school thinking that everything that she was taught at home was permissible to do everywhere else. And people don't think the same way. And they're not kind about it either.
Yeah, honestly, public school is dangerous. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stephen.
No, totally agree with you, Dale. It's the lack of teaching consequences. The younger generation have no value for consequences for actions whatsoever. And also, I believe that's the same girl whose mom was introducing her to it at a young age. So
Yes.
she literally had that sacred value of sex stolen from her as a child when she was groomed by her mother. So obviously, she's going to go through life without valuing it. And that's a sad result. So the father's responsible for not teaching her that, hey, you know, part of being a slut is you will be slut shamed. And the mom's just as responsible, but more for grooming the child.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
ahead.
is, when you're a teenager, there's a completely difference between someone actually. I think if you're an adult, you're participating in whoredom. A child, you are participating in abuse that you are replicating. The child cannot be a whore. They cannot, because what they're demonstrating is the fact that being sexually abused and groomed, that child needs help. And once upon a time, if a kid did that, get taken from their parents' home and put into foster care, and there would be an investigation and people would be in jail. Now we blame the child for acting out on abuse instead of punishing the parents and getting that child into a place rehabilitated and get help.
We're running up on time on this segment.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to close here with a prayer. We can come back on the other side and just finish up quickly the whatever we have left. But so if you're watching on Lindell TV, you'll see it the next day. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. And Lord, help the men and women to come together to rebuild our families, our communities, and our nation, and help us that we would protect the children who need it very much is my prayer. In Jesus' name. Amen. We will be back shortly to finish this up, to talk about the grooming aspect that continues to go on.
Hey everybody, Keisha here, and today I am here with my friend
Jennifer Guskin,
and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city, house, or state without permission, or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on, we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Karis Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you, everybody, for your time and considerations. And thank you for all the support. And we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Karis Podcast. Today we're back and talking about all of this stuff that was going on here with the grooming and the different issues that are going on. Casey, you want to kind of continue on where you left off?
Yeah, what's good in the proverbial hood? Yeah, this episode's gonna be shorter. We're just finishing up some of the bit from the one. No, I was just saying in the previous episode, like, if you're a child and you're demonstrating sexually explicit behavior, or you're practicing sexual behaviors with friends and whatever else, that's not normal. Like, that's not whoredom. That's not a child being a whore. That's a child that's been abused. That's a child that's being groomed, demonstrating groomed because they're being taught to do something and now they're practicing it. Like I said, once upon a time, if a child demonstrated that behavior, there would be investigation, and someone would go to jail. The kid would be taken from a home and someone would go to jail. Now it's so normal that they put all the capacity, responsibility on. This is what they actually started from since the 60s, where things went from Fathers Know Best show to All in the Family in the 60s, 50s, 60s. And then they started started giving, a lot of drugs in society and gave children more rights. Parents and told the parents, if you try to go against that, then we're going to take your children from you. And so, like, it's a long time coming, but it is extremely evil to give children that level of capacity because they know what they're doing. Despite the fact that one lady, her kid was given, she gave her kid the demonstration and everything. And kids see Spider-Man, doing flips on the TV and shooting spider webs out of his wrist, and they're going to be doing it within minutes of watching them, That doesn't mean that they're actually Spider-Man, like they're a kid and people know if they put things in front of children, they're going to replicate the behavior. And that's extremely, extremely concerning that we have given children the capacity of adults and then blaming them for the abuse that they're going through. And that's actually fueling the industry, the OnlyFans, the separation between women, the problems that they're having today, because of stuff like that. If you're an adult, you're an adult. You're making adult decisions. If you're a child, it's groomed. Sorry, you're being abused. You're not a whore. You're abused. You're a victim of sexual abuse. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, this is insane. With what's happening here. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And this keeps getting worse and worse, and we really need to start looking at what's going on because, I mean, this is, I mean, it's clear that something wrong is going on. You can look at the differences between what's happening because one person is having issues because of what's happening to them. The other person's having is going on because they're getting groomed. And then after, because of that red pill philosophy, this ends up having a negative effect
yeah.
on top of
Sorry.
those women because when, like Angela White said, when she was shamed, she went ballistic.
Yeah, because you cannot shame a woman the right thing. First of all, she doesn't even understand what's going on. She's been groomed to do this behavior. And then people are shaming her like a demon, a kid. And this is why, like, even in my generation, there are children who went through egregious levels of abuse, like little girls, and they have no regard for intimacy whatsoever in a sacred manner. The less it's transactional. You go to school and people will start treating you like the abuse, and especially when you're in a red pill, who's looking at red pill and they see these people, they come on the shows, they ask that they're like 18, 19, 20. They ask them what their body count is. They start telling them they've been people from the time they were like 13, 14, 15. What do you not your mind? Do you not in your mind be that you were abused? It's weird to me that grown men cross from women at a table or men, because if a man was sleeping with people at early teenage years, that's abuse. I don't care. You sit across from you hear them tell stories how they have like all these bodies at such a young age, and you don't sit there and be like, you were abused, so not this is not like, maybe some of it was a bad choice, statutory rape, even if you go there, but there's a reason why statutory rape is a thing, reason why there's actually a term for that. So it's like, this is why women are so afraid of men today. And I hate to go off, but this actually bothers me. This is why women cannot stand men. This is why they're not dating them. This is why they're dating women. They're becoming gay. They're choosing to be gay because they would rather deal with the reality of women just to get the mental and emotional connection with women than deal with the potential of a man who's actually going to treat them like a demon because they went through an experience and they did something that they didn't know any better because they were a child, a literal child. And a man is going to hold that over for the rest of her life, or treat her like garbage or like she's less than a human being for things that she did as a child. This is what's crazy to me. Like, actually blows my mind. Like, I can't even understand. And the way that men speak to women today has no regard for love, compassion, empathy. There's no, like, a lot of men today genuinely hate women. Like, not all of them. There are some good men in this world, but it's just that a lot of them do treat you like that. And you have to constantly prove that you're a human being to people. And this is why a lot of women have a nonchalant, off the shoulder, I don't give a damn kind of responding. It's because it's like that sacredness weekend, and now I'm going to be punished because it was taken. So if I'm going to roll out, I'm going to roll out all the way. Like, it's going to be all or nothing. That's how women think. If I'm going to go to hell, I'm going to go in a Rolls Royce. Just, I'm going to enjoy the ride because you're already punishing me for something that had nothing to do with my free will. And now I might as well enjoy it and indulge in it because I'm going to get punished. I'm being punished anyways. So it's like, who cares? So a lot of women my generation are like that. And if it wasn't as extreme blown assault, there's things that happened. I mean, even with she talked about she was reading the thick books in school, in the library. That is also a form of grooming. And older, she's even older than me. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff that was happening to create the circumstances for what we're seeing today, where kids thought that the decisions that they were making were their own decisions because they didn't see the circumstances around them by the adults. And then they were pitted against or whatever and punished. So, yeah, I don't know. That's annoying to me. That's really frustrating to watch.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's also just briefly, that's why I see a lot of porn stars. Like, I understand what Lisa Ann said when she's like, I don't feel shame for what I done. She said she understands where the action came from. If she wasn't abused, she would have never made that choice. But she's like, I'm not going to carry the shame you because you're ashamed to be around me because of my choices. When I already gave up the choice, I gave it to God. I surrendered. I'm not going to aim for you so that you can feel justified to sit in my presence. Get out of my face. I don't care. That I actually agree with. You can repent, but I'm not going to feel bad for you so you could be around me. Get out.
This I'm going to sit down and say here is now
A lot of men are like that.
We're going to go back and put another clip here. This is going to explain a little bit with Lily Phillips, with her aspect of being groomed and like pornography at a young age.
Your generation, Gen Z, has grown up with pornography being easily available on smartphones. How do you think that has influenced you?
Honestly, I probably watched pornography first when I was maybe 11. And so I've always known about it. I've always knew it was a thing. And I always thought it was very normal to watch. And I personally don't think pornography is a bad thing in moderation. I just think it's when younger adults have a lot of access to it, that's when it does become a problem.
But if you started watching it at 11,
Yeah.
I mean, that is so young.
Yeah.
Can you describe how it has influenced you and your brain and your outlook on sex?
You know what? It actually made me really sex confident and learn a lot of things. I mean, that's mostly how I learned through pornography. And I do think it has a positive effect on me, just in terms of like understanding things a little bit more.
Right. But as
Just
Honest. Okay.
the issue is when you learn from pornography, you start objectifying people because you're not having a relationship with a human being, right? And this
It's
is
not realistic, yeah.
yes. And so when you're starting to learn about sexual experiences by yourself in these kinds of matters, that's not the way that you're supposed to learn about sex. It's about being with someone else and having to deal with a human being that has likes and dislikes. But then it begins to start to be about gratifying yourself alone. And this is not the way that it's supposed to work, right? And it changes the dynamic on how you experience things based on what you learn when you're young. And nobody can sit down and say the sexual experiences that they have when they're young don't shape the way that they are when they're older. If you say no, you're lying.
It does. It does.
Exactly.
Like, this is why I said, like, and a lot of men, this is why I said, like, don't look at the circumstances, and they just, and I understand why a lot of women become so with men, because for some men, I don't know why, I adapt that mentality in a lot of ways. Like, I don't care about you or what you think about me. They will treat you, if you show men, some men today, if you show any ounce that you feel any remorse for the bad decision you made, even though you were abused making the decision, they will like whip you with it. Any chance they get, they will use it and try to beat you with it. And it's like they enjoy it. I don't know why. But if you're like, I don't care, I'm not going to feel bad so that you can feel comfortable sitting with me, then they treat you like a normal human being. Then they're like, all of a sudden, it's like, now you're a person. And this is why a lot of women are like, no, bleepity bleep to you. And they pick up this really careless and angry attitude, because it's like the respect, they see that you have any kindness, like they see that you have kindness in your soul enough to feel like you can take accountability even in a moment where you were pushed in a position and you want to be the good person. It's like, I can't understand that. I can't, because when they're in the situation of the puffy and they're like, screw you, like, yeah, whatever, and they'll respect you. But as soon as you're like not in that situation of abuse, or maybe out of your own, all of a sudden you're a filthy animal and they can't stand you, like, and you're not a human being that doesn't deserve life. I can't understand. I'm sorry.
Yes, I know. Now I want you to listen to what Lily is going to talk about from her perspective. Just listen to this.
And I think it was about a year and a half ago is when I first got into porn. So I started having sex with men online and selling them videos and stuff like that. And I did that for probably about 6 months, until it got kind of just a little bit like stale and a bit boring. And for me, it also wasn't always content that, I love having sex one-on-one and stuff like that, but I also wanted to explore my kinks of having a gangbang or doing something more relatable or more real, or, just kind of pushing the limits a little bit more. Like when I first did a event with like normal guys who aren't porn guys, I just thought it just seemed so authentic.
Do you feel like you had more control over them though? Because you were like this experienced, I don't want to use the word.
Yeah.
I want this experienced OnlyFans girls that was going to come here and show them what time it is, rather than men. Men traditionally F women, don't they?
Yeah,
Not the other way around.
Yeah.
And was there a power play involved?
I
in
do
that?
love that though. It's on my, you know, I am kind of like the one organizing this. It's really like on in my field as to what we're doing, you know, who's me here, who's me there. And so I do really enjoy that aspect of kind of being the leader. And obviously these guys come to these events and, you know, these are grown guys and there's the ones that are a little bit timid and they're like, oh, because they, you know, they've never been to something like this, so they don't know what to expect. And so, you know, you are the one who's like confident. I do love that. Maybe I'm just a bit of a attention-seeking whore.
Maybe.
But yeah. I like having sex and people watching me and things like that, and just being quite confident in the bedroom. That I do really get after that.
And you still enjoying it now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The way that she said she gets off on the control organize, like, because she's the one organizing the event. And this is why especially women who are abused, they need the boundaries, fathers and men around. Because someone mentioned me the other day that like I'm a really good leader or whatever, and I manage situations quite well in situations where other people, you know, struggle too. And I was like, but that's only because I follow the direction of my father. Like literally the only reason I can do that well is because I follow the direction of my father. I trust, like, you know, the way that we work together as a team. Women who are traumatized or, you know, get themselves into these situations, the men think that they are, you know, in one way, a woman's disrespecting herself, obviously, by doing this, but she sees it as her being domineering. And a lot of men, they don't look at the behaviors of what women are doing because they don't care. They're like, oh, women are just doing this. But it's like, you still have to look at the intention as to why a woman is doing things. And a lot of the things that men allow women to do is actually feeding their mentality, that of power and control. And if you let her do that, she's like, okay, I have one up on you again, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It's why a lot of women who are traumatized don't like goods, and they think they're actually toxic, because that good guy is not going to let you in the one up and the one up. They will just straight up like not engage your foolishness on foolishness, or they will actually give you solutions and solve problems, and that will make a woman feel bad, and she'll think he's a bad guy because she's so used to a man who doesn't have boundaries just letting her feel good by doing this stuff. So, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's an extremely dangerous game that she's playing there.
Yes, this is why there has to be boundaries, and not having boundaries.
That's crazy.
Is a bad thing. Now we're gonna listen to this, and we're gonna listen to what happens here with this with Lily again.
Okay. And Bonnie Blue doing the 1,000 Men. Apparently it's not true. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Is it even possible to sleep with 1,000 men in a day? Because you must have figured that out backwards. That's why you started with 100.
You know what? I think it is possible. I do.
But I feel like you were in an arms race for the 1,000 a day, because she came on here at Christmas and said, I'm not doing it, knowing full well, obviously, that she was doing it.
Yeah.
How did you feel then? You'd obviously declared this title and then she goes and does it.
I really don't mind. It's not some kind of competition. You know, I'll still do my own thing. No? I mean, if people want to pit us against each other, that's their problem.
So it feels like there's this leveling up of like extreme content.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, because it's kind of what she was from saying to me, the more extreme, the more press, the more people go on your OnlyFans, the more you can charge for a video.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily work in like the most extreme, because even people who, You know, the most popular porn stars are not the ones who are doing the most extreme stuff. Like, there's always going to be someone doing more extreme stuff than me. Like, it's not a race to get who can get more extreme for me anyway.
So what drove you to do the old people then? Because the only way you would want to sleep with those guys is, no, let's be honest, yeah, is to be like, I'm going to get some publicity on this, because there is no way on God's green earth. They're not even mobile, some of them, were they? And a question, were they porn stars, or were they just old dudes up for it? Oh, you can't tell us that. So who sits down then? Like, is it someone in your team's like, do you know what? She's done 1,000 men.
No.
We're going to America. Let's just go and get the old boys. Like, whose idea is that?
It was mine to do with the old man, yes.
Why?
Because I knew
that it'd get you attention.
It makes a good headline. Like, it does.
Yeah, true. And that's what I'm saying. So with the more headlines comes the more notoriety. Is that the idea, that then it pushes more people to subscribe?
Well, that is obviously how if you want to make more money or be more successful, you have to get the attention of the media 100%.
And how do you deal with like the hate and abuse?
You know, I'm just not that affected by it.
Never been.
Not really, no. Obviously, like, if someone calls you a fat cow, you're like, right, nice.
Yeah.
But like, people say it so often that it's so like, I just don't really care.
And where do you see it mostly, online or in real life?
Oh, definitely online, yeah.
Because I know
people hide behind screens, like, they just never say that to you in your real life.
Yeah, I think your volume's off as well. Never mind. No, how she mentioned before, made attention whore. I think that, like, as women are so desensitized to the sacredness of like that itself, and then on top of it, they are feel good addicts and they're chasing emotion in a different way, because there's not that emotional and mental connection. They're gonna actually need to keep, she said she loves being praised that way, like in those acts with all men. It's like you have all those men constantly. In a way, it's like affirmation or validation to you that you can feel good. When in reality, the man that should be praising you and admiring you is your husband. And because you don't have that, you're going to be filling that void with all these different men, because it's like when you're online, you know, and you like, if I post a photo, you know, people will slide DMs, people will say like a bunch of stuff under the thing, and a lot of girls like that. But I posted a video about how much endless DMs actually feel like staring at the bottom of an alcohol like beverage. But you know, I'm not an alcoholic, and I don't like, and I don't even want this, because it's like you realize that all of these affirmations and things that you're getting, it is so empty. It doesn't feel like anything. Maybe in the moment you might get a hit of crack, but it doesn't last. So you have to keep replenishing it. But you know, it's not something I really care for anyways, because I want a husband, and because I know that's where the long-term value is going to come from. But if you don't understand those things, you're gonna think that, okay, well, this makes me feel good, this is fine. Women very much become desensitized to those things, because women naturally already only look at things from the emotional and mental captivating standpoint. So they're gonna be like, oh, well, this makes me feel affirmed, whatever, I'm admired, whatever. And it doesn't mean anything to them, because they're like, it's not like, this is just a transactional regardless. So it's not even, that's why in the other video, she was like, oh, it really affect me. If you see what I'm saying?
Yes, we just need to stop.
Oh, it does, even though it does, because she is wrong about that. But
yes, we just need to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
All right, if you need any of my pillow products or if you want to try the new Rev 7, go to mypillow.com/Karis or call 800-845-2942. Use the promo code Karis. I want people to understand here what's going on. And there is, like, with Lily Phillips talking about watching porn at 11, she's groomed. And when I listened to some of the stuff that was going on with some of these other sexual experiences, they might have not had the pornography, but they were getting sexually like active and so forth as children at younger ages and so forth. This is where we are. This is where we're having problems when you're looking at this, because there's a grooming, and definitely having pornography to children is going to change things. And then now you're having a woman who has been exposed to pornography. She's 23. She's gone off and going to do more and more things and so forth. Right? You got to sit back, and now we're going to go back and listen to the clip here about the effects of the pornography on the young, which Lily Phillips was exposed to, and Lisa Ann talks about this with another woman here.
Do you think that porn encourages human trafficking?
I do. I think porn has, since the internet, has had a lot of negative effects. I mean, there's the couples that I meet on the road that come in that enjoy my movies, and there's that where I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful. But that might be a 5 to a 10%.
Yeah.
I think it's changed the reality for young men because it is so accessible, and because the scenarios that Brazzers has us do is so believable that in their weird minds, because they've been watching so young and there hasn't been any sneak to it, they haven't been forced to realize that they aren't 18, they shouldn't be watching, and all they have to do is click the box that says they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what I think that's done is I think it's really affected the sexual history of these young people. And I think older men, Epstein, is a great example of this. And now we're going to watch this case unfollow. People with money are doing these things.
Yeah.
And then young people are confused by these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned from young women that I'm mentoring in my travels that aren't involved in the industry is I'm realizing that young people are having less sex than ever. And young girls have been shied off from 1 or 2 experiences that they felt were violent and that I explained to them just came from porn.
Yeah.
The choking, the smacking,
hair
the
pulling.
spitting.
Yeah.
That's not, and for a young girl who's 16, that's what the 16-year-old boy has been watching. So the first time he has sex with her, he chokes her and she doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what to do about it. And so they're having either sex with girls or they're not having sex at all.
Yeah.
And so I think what we've allowed our kids to watch and what we've failed here in LA because it's what we produce.
Right.
We failed.
Now, when you take that into consideration, and Lily Phillips is watching pornography as an 11-year-old, if it's going to have an effect on the boys, it's going to have an effect on the girls. And when she's having this extreme behavior in doing things that even other people that are in that same industry are beginning to sit down and say, whoa, you're going a little too far. And the other girl there, Bonnie Blue, where they're pushing certain things, it gets to the point where she's doing certain things just to get more. And Lily Phillips straight up said it. She went and did that for old men to get more things in the video, get more press, to drive more money to her bank account. Right? When you're seeing that people are going to come and try to one up the other people so that they can start getting more money, and they have no boundaries, and they've been groomed into doing this by putting the pornography into their hands, and God knows what pornography she was watching at 11, right? that you can't have that, right? You can't have that. Just like it's going to affect the boys over on that aspect, it's going to affect the girls that are watching it. And some of these girls are going to become hypersexual. And this is what ends up becoming a problem. Because, yeah, you can't, children should never have pornography. Period. Period. You can see that you can watch from one generation to the next, and you see the differences from the sexuality and the way that they're viewing things and the things that they're doing. It's going further and further. The more children are exposed to sexually explicit material, the worse this issue becomes. And then they're groomed to go ahead and continue this kind of. Go ahead, Aisha.
No, I mean, like, I don't really have anything to say. My my position is the same. Uh, behavior is abuse, and I don't think that that's something that's acceptable. I don't think that's something that should be through. And quite frankly, I think that's something they have to apologize. I don't even think that's something that they bad about. Because like you said, the one girl was talking about the shame that she went stick. Because that's very confusing to a kid. And like the parents.
Oh, you're. I guess you're kind of lagging out there.
That are
What?
responsible. I said the parents are ones that are responsible to make sure things go in a different direction if something does happen. If kids are demonstrating behavior as children, that's something that they should even feel personally responsible for that about. Like you feel bad on the level like maybe you affected another person, but I don't know, kind of like that's come to me because it's like all of the kids that are involved in that are being abused, and like this now as adults. Once you're an adult, it's like okay, now you're making decisions as an adult. You need to get help. Like Lily's an adult now. Like no, this is
She
making my brain hurt.
she doesn't think that it's like she says that porn damages other people's brains, but it hasn't really affected her.
But yeah, that's not how that works. Yeah.
But, and
Well, that's what I said. When you're doing things that making her feel better, or like she said that she likes praise from the men in those situations. In the act of those things, all those men, it's like she probably was like glorified or something. I don't know. She that she probably thinks that it's actually benefiting her as opposed to like other people that she's compartmentalizing, but that's not at all that's not at all what's going on. Eventually that fuse is going out because like it gets stale and she keeps having to try new and new things to explore, and eventually she's going to like crash and burn. She's like quite badly.
The one thing that I'm going to say is that there is that emotional foundation that is not being laid when you start engaging in those types of things. You're just getting into using primarily the physical actions, and you're never going to reach the same fulfillment without laying that foundation first. It's just not going to work. That's not the way that it was designed. So you're not going to get the most fulfilling, and that's all you know. But then when you have those emotional connection, that bond with that person, that foundation that was there, then then you will be able to have it much further and much better in that situation had you not than you would just having something purely physical, because it wasn't designed just to be physical at all.
That's something that a woman is not going to experience. Love and grace, and that actually cares about her. Like, women cannot see the potential of which is why what Jesus did with Magdalene was so important. But women cannot see the potential of how it would make sense that that is an act outside of just something physical, and they experience that love, like how I mentioned earlier, how like men actually like a lot of times like the abuse, like you are the walk, like you have to justify why you can sit in their presence as if they are God, to justify why you have the right to be a human and be treated with respect as a human being. And they just they if they don't have someone that actually shows them love and kindness and creates the circumstances for that environment for them, then it's going to continue to be transactional, because that's literally all they know. And a lot of women, kids in general, when they're abused as children, a lot of their growth is stunted. Like a lot of their growth mentally and emotionally is stunted, which is why a lot of people are abused. They either act extremely evil or very childish. They have a very playful or childlike innocence about them, because they are trying to preserve an innocence that is now gone. And at that stage of life where the abuse happens, at times it doesn't progress, because if they don't have parents that even care enough to try and past what they're dealing with, because a lot of, like, look at what the parents were doing. They were encouraging the abuse. They were the ones doing it. That's really the thing. A lot of these women are really cooked unless they find Jesus or a man that actually cares about them and has the patience to deal with them. They're cooked, and they're just going to keep getting worse and worse, because they're not going to see the value in that outside of transaction, and they're going to be numb, truly numb. And when you're numb to this, I don't think people understand. And I don't even really explain it, because I went through life almost being completely numb to almost everything, not really feeling much of anything. Most things, didn't care about literally almost anything. I only did things because it made sense, and it was pragmatic. And if I didn't father who is actually teaching me the value of doing things, then I've been cooked because of the way that I was numb about things. I could not fathom in my mind, like I cannot even now sometimes fathom in my brain that someone would actually be gentle and soft and loving and kind with me. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, like I can't see why someone would even be interested in doing that. I don't even think person. It's just when you experience a certain type of abuse, and that's all the transactions that you've experienced and outside of your family, because obviously I have a very loving family, it doesn't click in your brain. Like, understand why people don't know. I don't understand. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't understand. Don't get that.
Yes, I get that. I just want to play these, like, we have 2 more clips to go through quickly before we get done. But I just want to listen after knowing how there was no inhibitions basically on the sexuality and so forth, and now this is going, and you can listen to her now how she talks about. Well, there's nothing wrong with liking sex, but I'm just sitting down, pay attention to how the not having boundaries and so forth, where this kind of tends to go.
I don't even know how to talk about dads.
I
Like,
mean, I didn't have the same. I didn't have the same relationship with my dad. Like, me and my dad weren't open about sex. It wasn't like he was close.
No,
yeah,
he wasn't like, you're about to get slammed by that. Yeah,
I was mommy's girl.
Totally. I think there's this sort of I don't want to say stereotype, myth, whatever, that like if you like sex a lot, your dad must have failed or something.
Oh.
And I think I always try to challenge that.
Yeah.
And that it's,
I think most people like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless of what, what's up with dad.
Yeah.
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 And so you're in Australia, and then
Mm-hmm.
you lose your virginity. At what point are you like, when you lost your, like, did you enjoy it? When do you start enjoying sex? Because I think for most people, sex is not, this is not the experience.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just so curious if, you know, I maybe had the way that you had a positive relationship with comedy. I'm sorry. The way that you had a positive relationship with sex, I developed a positive relationship with comedy early on with my, it's like when traumatic things would happen or bad things would happen, like jokes would cut the tension and everyone would laugh. And I was like, okay, this is the thing. This is what's, you know, so it's like, obviously that's where the Pavlovian sort of like desire to keep doing that, you know, came from. But I'm curious, like, because most people, I think losing your virginity is kind of like usually not a great, that's not great.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was having like multiple
Yeah,
orgasms and you know, it was the best sex of my life. It was the peak.
Yeah,
you know?
like, you know,
Yeah.
and then it kind of taints it. And then you're so, and because maybe America is a little bit different because it's a lot of like furtive, you know, religious shame. You're dry humping in closets and getting your braces stuck on someone's cock ring. It was just like, you don't really have good sex till you're like 30 in America.
So there was sort of a relief after I lost my virginity because there was so much like the virginity thing, like there's so much tied to that. Like it's so important, you know, and leading up to losing my virginity, I'd done basically everything else. Like I was just sucking dick all the time because I was like, I loved sucking dick. It was so much fun for me because I was like, this is a way for me to be sexual, but I can still protect my precious virginity.
Yeah.
You know, I can suck anyone's dick. That doesn't have to be special, but popping the cherry, that has to be with someone I love. And it has to be beautiful and wonderful and something that I'll remember forever. So once I lost it, I felt relief because I'm like, oh, now I can anyone I want because like I made the first time special. So now it doesn't matter. I enjoy sex for a myriad of ways. It's not just like the pleasure I feel in being touched in my body and the orgasm and things like that. Like I enjoy connecting. I enjoy being naked with someone. I enjoy expressing and exploring. I just loved exploring things, even if I didn't like it. Because I had, especially at that age, there were so many things that I hadn't tried.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And there's that, you can see where how her earlier life was, how that shaped that. And there was some of that experience. And then you go down and you start looking at Lily, who's been watching pornography from 11. And she's going further and further. And now, when you're looking at the amount of children that are continually accessing pornography, what's going to happen? Right? It's going to get worse because children are watching pornography. They're getting access to pornography. It's grooming them. They're seeing a lot of them are seeing, I mean, very illegal activity. First of all, a child shouldn't see pornography, period. But that Willie was saying, well, it's really not that bad. Excuse me.
Honestly,
For a child?
no, like that. Yeah, what I'm actually going to say is, government. Well, you know, certain agencies are now saying that, or considering that human trafficking victims, or you know, people who are victims of grooming, abuse, certain things like sexual abuse, that it actually disables somebody. It makes them like mentally and emotionally and sometimes physically. So imagine, and I don't know to what extent like these people, like what was going on, but this is heavy level of grooming. Like I wouldn't doubt that there are quite a few people in the porn industry disabled because of the things that they went through. And there are a lot of people people around in society that I honestly like when you listen to them talk, like when she's reasoning these things, that's not rational thinking. Even for someone who is choosing to do porn, and she said that she chose to lose her virginity or whatever else, maybe no one took it from her. Like that's not rational thinking for a human being.
Yes. Well, we have another clip to play here quickly before we're running up on time here. I just want people to see this before we wrap up and close.
It's the way of human beings, and it's always been like that. Women, especially damaged women, especially women who are narcissists, i.e., attention whores, yeah, they're going to go for a guy who is going to give in to their demands, who's going to give them all of his attention. He's going to, who is going to be there for her all the time. Yeah, because that's what these women want. They want a guy who's their slave. And of course, nice guys are the ones who are damaged and ruined and destroyed by these women. Yeah, not like me. Like me, yeah, you know, when a woman gets uppity, when she becomes too demanding, we're like, next. And the women know this, see? The women, the narcissists, the attention whores, the women who are severely damaged and who need all of this attention from a guy, they're not going to come to a guy like me because they can smell from a mile away that I'm not going to put up with their shit. See? And that's the thing about nice guys. They put up with their shit. They keep on putting up with it. And they come back for seconds, for crying out loud. And see these guys, indecent guys.
I don't know, but like, oh, what?
This is where you're having a a a feeding off of each other on the wrong things, because attention, the attention seeking women, like for example, like Lily, there's going to be certain guys that are going to go after and get angry and so forth. And then they're going to go after a certain type of guy. And a lot of those guys have been weakened because of the amount of grooming and so forth that they've been put through, because these guys have been watching pornography and all of these things. And they're getting weaker. And the more that these guys go after these women, they're going to go further. Like what Angela said, she was shamed, and then she drove her further into doing this. And then you're going to see more of these guys coming back at it, and then the guys that are being exposed to this pornography are becoming weaker and weaker because it's getting into the hands of children younger and younger. And then these two sides, because you have like some of this feminist ideas and saying that they need to be sexually liberated and continue to push it, and you have these red pill guys coming in and coming after them on both sides. And then the other guys that are in the middle, that are in between these two, they're getting destroyed. And then the women are also getting destroyed as well. Right? And there's a lot of factors that are out there, because you look at like all of those girls, it didn't just happen by happenstance. Yes, their parents have a lot of responsibility, but all these places that are making sure that these things are readily available to children, they also have a hand in this, and they're pushing this content. And then what ends up happening? They're pushing the boundaries because they've been groomed to do so. Right? Get sexually explicit material inside of the schools. Same thing that they're talking about, parents are talking about. She got this and was going into the back of the room every day, addicted to this stuff, rather than learning to have some control. Because
the library.
Yes, there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with having sex. There's nothing wrong with having a high sex drive, but there needs to be a time and a place for everything, right? And
but she's a kid, so obviously we're obviously not going to shame adults for having a sex drive, but for kids it's like obviously they shouldn't even have to think about that.
Well, yes, but I'm saying that even if you start developing the hormones changing, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
desire, but you have to have you have to use your brain to kind of regulate that so that you don't cause yourself problems, because there's consequences to all your actions. And this is what people have to
Yeah.
understand. Like, you make choices, good or bad, there's always consequences. And you need to have, and some of the things that she would have gotten herself into in school, if she was told, well, you know what, if you do this here in this situation, this is what's going to happen. They need to,
Consequences, yeah.
this is where people need to understand that. And because her natural reaction is to just go forward and continue to go like over and above, because of all the shaming that was gone. And shaming isn't the way to deal with it.
Honestly, it's not. Yeah.
Either way, this is a large problem that needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of factors that are going on to make this problem extremely bad. And it's coming from all sides. And this is where we need to have serious conversations on how to deal with this, to put the brakes on it, because the more this type of thing continues, the more children are going to be accessing this material. And if that doesn't stop, this is going to be very bad in a very short time. And we can't have that happen. So I'm going to close here with a prayer and have your final thoughts quickly, because we're right up on time. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. And Father, I ask of you this day to have the men and the women to come together to rebuild our families, our community, our churches, and our nation, that we can, Lord, get back some sensibility and, correct the evils that have been done, and to protect the children from all this wickedness that we see coming from all sides. And, oh Lord, this day I ask of you this day to help us, that we would protect the children, and that we would be able to finish the work until we see you coming in the clouds. Is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah. Honestly, the way she was going on with some of those, yeah, thanks, Steph, for my prayer as always. The way those stories sounded like she was a whole fiend as a child, which is concerning to me. But anyway, yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. My head's like, I'm actually like this was crazy. Like, sorry guys, like this was insane. Yeah, just double what my dad said. Yeah, double down what my dad, man, because my brain is like scrambled eggs trying to like process everything I just listened to, because it's mad. Anyway, thanks guys for your time and considerations. We'll check you in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, and we will ciao.